Good morning, everyone. Here we are again. Yet again with another morning live stream. I've even had to pay for StreamYard this month because I've live streamed so much on this channel. So to continue live streaming on this channel for the rest of the month, I've had to pay. That's why I can do a fancy background. Because the free version of StreamYard doesn't allow you to put fancy backgrounds on unless you're using a green screen, and then you can. But I can't be bothered setting up a green screen and lights. It's too much like hard work. Anyhow, here we are again talking about the Sebastian Rogers case. And what I want to do this morning, it's not going to be as long a live, I don't think, as the ones I have been doing. You know, I've been getting up there in the 3-hour mark, and yeah, it's too much. It's too much. All right, but I am still absolutely focusing on the facts of this case. I do not want to know about any of the nonsense, absolute, complete nonsense that's going on. Absolutely shameful. Shameful for the people concerned. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at Seth's latest interviews. He's been interviewed on the news a couple of times after the vigil on Sunday. So we're going to look at those interviews because he's still calling for the FBI to take over the case. So we're going to compare what Seth thinks law enforcement have done to what they've actually done. That's what we're going to be doing by playing some law enforcement interviews. And I've got one of the press conferences from way back. And I'm going to play that. It's only like 10, 11 minutes. But I'm going to play it just as just to show you that law enforcement did so much at the beginning. But there's nothing that, like, how can they continually update when there's nothing new? Like that they can update about. So I think the perception that Seth is giving off maybe reflects his frustration, and that's understandable given the position he's in. But it's not an accurate, in my opinion at least, it's not accurate. And given that Seth is one of the main problems in terms of the drama, I think it's important to set the record straight somewhat. Even if it's not a popular viewpoint, I don't care. I do not care. I'm just going to continue the way that I'm doing it. But I'm going to say a few hellos to give people an opportunity to come in because I forgot to share this on Twitter and Facebook. I'll share it after. So I'll give people a chance to come in who, you know, might not have seen it. Hello, Jackie, RZ, Cedric, Holly from across the big pond. Pincho, I know. That's exactly what I'm avoiding. Exactly what I'm avoiding. I did mention it towards the end of my live stream yesterday. Somebody came into the chat and said that Tony had said that Sebastian had been abducted and there was this unknown vehicle involved, and this Deputy Skaggs had released this information about the Amber Alert. So I went and played the clip that Jace for Justice had shared about Deputy Skaggs saying that Sebastian had been abducted by an unknown vehicle. And I looked up Deputy Skaggs, and Deputy Skaggs had a Twitter account sharing Amber Alerts. So whether this Deputy Skaggs is actually a real deputy, I've got no idea. I did hear somebody was playing clips from JLR, and JLR had clicked on these Amber Alerts on Deputy Skaggs' Twitter and found these AI-generated voices that practically said the same thing for each Amber Alert that had been shared. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous. So Tony was using this this Twitter account from this Deputy Skaggs guy and these AI voices, and portraying it as real, portraying this as a real update from law enforcement. And of course it wasn't. Well, whether Tony knew full well that it wasn't, or whether Tony was just so naive, I could actually believe that he would be so naive to believe that that was real. But yeah, I'm keeping well away from it. I'm not interested in anything that man has to say, although he was on the News Nation with Seth. So we are actually going to have to listen to a little bit of him. But awful, absolutely awful. We Are Dust, hello. TX Dogmom, hello. Linda, spoiled with these lives. Yeah, prime time down under. It's good morning to most people, but it's good evening for those down under. Angie, baby, hello. Thunder Horse, good morning. Kate from the land down under, good evening from Queensland. Who else have we got? I've said hello to Holly Fletch. Gotta hand it to Seth, making the Proudfoots look classy. Well, actually, Chris hasn't been very classy. Chris has lost his cool one too many times. But Katie has remained completely classy. She's done exactly the right thing and kept away from all of the drama. She's just kept a dignified distance. And I do respect her for that. I really do. Like the amount of antagonism and just horrible stuff that has gone her way, and she has kept a dignified silence, and I do respect that. Who else have we got? Vi Hayes, Dana, Holly member for 1 month. Thank you. PhD for health, Joe, 2 Arctic Wolves, Flicking Bollocks, good morning. CW, good morning from my neck of the woods. Princess, Rhonda, I can't say your name, but hello. Bridget, L, Karen, Farm Girl Izzy, Rambling Rome. It's your birthday, Rambling Rome. Happy birthday. Teresa, unindicted co-conspirator. I love that name. Jean, Ginger Girl, Dulce. Can I get to the bottom? I don't think so. Because people are starting to come in now. So hello, everybody. Hello. And many happy returns to Rambling Rome. Good morning from Missouri. He can't be that naive. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past him, given that he was taking his tips from TikTok. At least Twitter's kind of one up from TikTok. At least you get some sensible information from Twitter, from some reliable sources. Does anybody know if the retention pond is still there? Yes, it is still there. It is still there. It's a few weeks ago now, but Trey from Narc Divers walked it. That very retention pond that Max dove into. And it's pretty much mud. Like, because it was drained, it was pretty much mud. So it's, I guess, not going to fill up until there's a significant amount of rain. But it's still there, just in a muddy format. I don't know what state it's in now. If it's rained a lot there, then it'll be filling up with water again. Footprints led to last place. We know he was alive. Yes, that's true, according to the dispatch audio. What the heck did he go? Exactly, SS. Exactly. We know he went there. We've got enough evidence to lead us there, to that retention pond on the construction site. And then we've got nothing else. So did he get into a car, which would obviously, just remove the scent completely? Or did he give the dogs the slip, like unintentionally? Did he wade into the pond and come out on a different bank? And it's just confused the dogs. Did he fall? I did speculate in one video that maybe he fell into the mud. It was deep mud. Trey from Narc Divers was over his ankles into the mud, and in some places it was really deep, like he was like feeling down, and it was just complete thick, like clay. You know, that kind of mud that sticks to you. I'm very familiar with it in my country because our soil is very clayey. At least around here it is. Very sticky mud. It's if you fall in it, you know, you're gonna get covered in it. And did he fall in the mud? And that's confused the dogs. Has something confused the dogs? I don't know. I genuinely do not know. That's the mystery of this case. Hello, Rocky, Ginger Girl. Doesn't an Amber Alert imply possible abduction? No, not in Tennessee. Actually, I'm going to get the criteria up for Tennessee. I have shown this before in relation to Summer Wells. But it's the reason why Summer Wells got an Amber Alert, but Michael Vaughan in Idaho didn't, because Tennessee have got a very, I suppose, liberal interpretation of when to give out an Amber Alert to a missing child, whereas other states, such as Idaho, are much stricter. And it's why Michael Vaughan didn't get one, even though it's very similar circumstances to the disappearance of Summer Wells. But okay, let's share this here. So Tennessee missing alerts and criteria, alert types, Amber Alert. So the Tennessee reserves Amber Alerts for the most serious missing child cases in which law enforcement believes that a child is in imminent danger. In Amber Alerts, the TBI harnesses the strengths of partner agencies, including Tennessee EMA, got it. The Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, the National Weather Service, TDOT, don't know what that is, and others, to amplify the message of vital information about the missing child, and if available, the suspect, vehicle, and direction of travel. So if available. So it's only if available that they will include that information on the Amber Alert, but it's not a necessary thing. So let's read these criteria here. In order to issue an Amber Alert, the following criteria must be met. So this is just in Tennessee. This is just in Tennessee. Purple AJ coming through with another 10 gifted memberships. You are too kind. You've gone beyond the definition of superstar. So Comrie Mom, Marjorie, Brenda, Be Real, Sherry, Sky Blue, Pale Rider, Karen, Kayla, Twinspire, in UK based. You guys, welcome to a month's free memberships, courtesy of Purple AJ. I looked on my members' videos playlist this morning, and there's 51 members' videos now. 51. So go and check those out. Some of them are very short, you know, like bloopers, but there's some live streams and stuff there. And there's some status updates. And there'll be a lot of status updates next week for members because there's new babies expected. They're expected on Sunday. So I'm going to be updating members on new babies. Dulcie, thank you for the 20 Australian dollars. That's very kind. Was on replay crew for Delphi Live. Fantastic video. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the Delphi stuff is insane. Another insane case. All right. So the criteria in Tennessee. The person is 17 years of age or younger, and the child is in imminent danger of bodily injury and death, and there's a description of the child abductor and vehicle, and on request from another state for activation. But it doesn't mean to say that all of those are necessary. So there is a description of the child, the abductor, or the vehicle. It's not and the vehicle. So it's any one of these. think this is where people are getting confused. So if there's a description of the child, that's enough to trigger the Amber Alert, provided that the other criteria are met. Now, obviously, if there is an abductor in a vehicle, they'll include that as well. So TDOT's the Tennessee Department of Transportation. Thank you. So they flash Amber Alerts on interstates. Cool. So it's that word, that one word, or, that is important for the Tennessee Amber Alerts. So even though criteria 3 must be met, all of these criteria must be met, they only need to have the description of the child, because it's or. So it's the description of the child or the abductor or the vehicle. You know, obviously, if they've got the description of the child, the abductor, and the vehicle, then they include them all. But on request from another state for activation. So those are the criteria, and that is the key word that people need to recognize. So no, in Tennessee, it's not necessary to have an abductor description or a vehicle description. Okay. All right. Hopefully that's helped. I knew that. I knew that because of Summer Wells. Because I remember having conversations with people regarding the Michael Vaughan case and what an injustice it was that Michael didn't get one because he lived in Idaho and they had a stricter interpretation. And, you know, I suppose by the time they realised he had actually been abducted and there was actually a suspect vehicle, it was way too late. You know, it wouldn't have been useful. So unfortunately, there's only 80 people watching. Is that right? Or is YouTube? I am going to share this out actually. Got only 80 people watching. Usually have a couple of hundred people at least. So I'm going to share this out. Just bear with me a second. Actually, what I'll do is while I'm sharing this out, we'll play the News Nation piece. And then it just gives me a chance to share this out. It doesn't hold you up. So this is 5 minutes. This is from 10 hours ago. So this is brand new. So this is Seth and Tony being interviewed on News Nation. The link to all of these, I'm going to play several clips. The link to all of these are in the description box for replay viewers. And I'll post this in the chat right now. Okay. All right. Just let me know that the sound is good.
It's been nearly 3 months since the teenager vanished in the middle of the night from the Tennessee home where he was living with his mother and his stepfather.
Can you hear that okay, everybody? I just need one person to give me an okay. Sounds good. All right, cool. All right, I'll play this while I share out the live stream.
Seth Rogers, the teenager's father, made the call Sunday at a vigil for the boy, asking for the FBI to step in as the lead investigative agency. Sebastian was missing on the morning of February 26th, and despite a few hopeful clues that turned out to be false, there have been no signs of the boy anywhere. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office is heading up the search, but Seth says the department has shown no sense of urgency in trying to find his son. He says people have told him they reported evidence to the department, but then got no response back. The sheriff's office says it's been working diligently on the case and that the FBI is already helping along with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. In fact, the TBI issued this Amber Alert on Sebastian the day after he disappeared. But Rogers says a fresh set of eyes is needed and that it's time for the department to hand over the reins completely to the FBI. For more now, we're joined by Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, and Tony Mathis, a spokesman for Seth and also a family friend. Thanks so much for joining us. Seth, this is not the first time you've called for the FBI to step in and take over. Why do you think it's so important?
I don't want my son to become a cold case. And the way that I'm seeing things now, it'll be a cold case.
You mentioned that people are calling in with information. They're not getting calls back?
Well, they're not going to call back and let them know that they checked the information. What it is I've got people that have contacted me and been like, we found stuff. And we've contacted Sumner County to come pick it up to see if it has any relevance to my son being missing, and they just don't show up.
Tony, what do you think the chances are the FBI will in fact step in? They can't do that unless local officials there ask them to.
I think it's going to take great outlets.
Sorry, both of you can answer, but
Yeah.
Tony, you first, then Seth.
I mean, I think what it's going to take is it's going to take networks such as yours to put a little pressure on them to let them know that either one, we want some confidence that they're getting somewhere in the case, which means a little communication with Seth, which we're not getting, or, you know, we want them to elevate the case.
What do you mean, Seth? You're not communicating with police?
Sumner County, I don't believe that text messages are a valid form of communication. I can't tell anything from your tone or how you're speaking to me. It's just like sending somebody an email in response to their questions, but it actually has more to do with how you respond than what you responded with.
Seth, you have a theory about what may have happened to your son. We should say your son Sebastian has autism, so he might have. Would he have difficulty being out and about on his own?
I believe he would.
Okay, so what's your theory about what happened to him?
Well, my theory is not new. It's just the last thing that I've been informed of is Sumner County has, as they said, no evidence that he ever left the house.
What does that tell you?
My son is invisible inside of a house that nobody's in.
Well, you know that's not true. So what, I mean, seriously, what do you think? I mean, do you think he's suffered some sort of foul play?
I don't know if there's foul play or not. I'm just stating that that's what they've told me. Well, if that's what you've told me in 3 months, let's have some common sense, you know?
Seth, you also said that you got copies of some reports from Child Protective Services about how Sebastian was treated by your ex-wife. Is there anything you can tell us about what was in those reports?
No, ma'am. That is all confidential between me, DCS, and my attorney.
But you don't, and nobody thinks that anything in there might be relevant to what might have happened to him.
Sumner County has had these records since probably day 1, maybe day 2. I had to jump through hoops in order to receive them, or I was told I could go to Sumner County to receive a copy of them.
You know, when we last had you on, we were hopeful that there was a picture that had been found from North Carolina of a boy who looked like your son. There's the picture. We're showing it right now. Whatever turned out with the picture? Was this another false lead?
It took took them 8 or 9 days to track down the mom of the child.
So it was just another boy who looked like Sebastian?
Really, I mean, yeah. I've seen pictures of the gentleman next to his mom in front of a Christmas tree, and it's just like, man, I mean, was hope.
Tony, thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television.
News Nation do this all the time. They cut off they cut off their interview. So there must be a part 2 to this, which I haven't come across it yet. But if anybody can find the link to part 2, there must be a part 2. She stopped mid-sentence. TikTok Tony was just about to speak. Or maybe TikTok Tony said nothing of use and they decided not to wear it. Who knows? Look, I mean, Seth saying that law enforcement thinks Sebastian never left the house. I'm going to play that little bit again just to get his words absolutely right.
That either one, we want some confidence that they're getting somewhere.
Sumner County, I don't believe that text messages are a valid form of communication. I can't tell anything from your tone or how you're speaking to me. It's just like sending somebody an email in response to their questions, but it actually has more to do with how you respond than what you responded with.
I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. Sending an email as a response, or even a text message as a response, if somebody just wants a question answered, that's the easiest way for law enforcement to respond. Because like more than one person has the access to an email account at Sumner County. So, you know, anybody who's on shift can answer it, presumably. Unless you're emailing a particular detective, I guess, you know, on a personal account. You know, you're not always going to get a response by phone. you know, if they feel it's more, and I actually prefer correspondence. I don't know about you on these kind of things. I actually prefer them in a written response, because you can, you know, you can read it, you can digest it. Whereas if you're on the phone, then, you know, unless you're recording the call, then that's been and gone. Now, look, I mean, if Seth tells them that he wants them to call him, that specifically to call him, then I think they'd probably oblige as best as they could. But I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I think he's expecting too much. This is just in my opinion, because they're not speaking to him. They're not giving him information because he's a blabbermouth, because he's a chronic complainer. So the more they give him, the more he's got to complain about. It's like nothing is ever going to be right for somebody like Seth. And I understand. I absolutely 100% understand how frustrating it is when it's in the middle of an investigation. I've been there, and in my case, it was a criminal investigation rather than a missing child. But there's only so much they can tell you. They can be as upfront as they can be. They can give you as many updates as they're allowed to, but they do have to maintain some of those facts behind, just in case. Now, in Sebastian's case, it's not a criminal investigation, but they still have to protect the integrity of the investigation in case it does become a criminal investigation. In case they find some evidence that leads them to believe that Sebastian has been a victim of crime. You know, Seth would be the first person to complain, and rightly so, if at some point in the future they found evidence that he had been a victim of crime, and he and because he, you know, requested everything, and because the cops gave him everything, it jeopardized a prosecution, which it could well possibly do. A defense attorney would be all over it if loads of information had been released and it compromised the investigation. We'd be in a way worse position than we are now. And Seth surely has to understand that. I think he does understand that. So I don't know, but I want to get that where she asked him what he thinks happened. At least he didn't say what he said to Nancy Grace. Oh dear, about Sebastian being drugged, because there's absolutely no evidence of that at all.
Seth, you have a theory about what may have happened to your son. We should say your son Sebastian.
Yeah, I think she's trying to probe. She's listened to Nancy Grace, so she wants to hear that from Seth's mouth, and he says something completely different, completely bizarre.
It's autism, so he might have. Would he have difficulty being out and about on his own?
I believe he would.
Okay, so what's your theory about what happened to him?
Well, my theory is not new. It's just the last thing that I've been informed of is Sumner County has, as they said, no evidence that he ever left the house.
What does that tell you?
So Sumner County told him that Sebastian never left the house. Can it be a criminal investigation without telling the public? It could be, but I doubt that they wouldn't inform the public. If it's a criminal investigation, I think they'll inform the public of it, because there may be certain things that they'd need the public's help with. And also, it shows the public that they're actually doing some work. I think they would release it. I think as soon as they get new information, they'll release it to the public, whether it's a press release or a press conference. So I do think we'd know if it was a criminal investigation. So it's not true. It's not true. Seth, it's not true. The cops have never said that they believe that Sebastian never left the house. That is not true. So if Seth has got that from somewhere, I'd like to know where Seth got that from, because Sumner County have never said that. They've never said that in any of the correspondence to Nick Beres. They communicate with Nick Beres regularly, and it's certainly not my interpretation of anything that law enforcement have released. The only evidence they have got is that he left the house, actually, that he walked away from the house. What is Tony doing? Tony's just, there to, I guess, show his face, as part of his PR campaign. He wants to be the PR manager. Actually, he's not the PR manager for Sebastian or for Seth. He's a PR manager for himself, and he's doing a very, very bad job of it. But anyway, that less about that. So Sumner County said he never left the house. Let me rewind and listen to that one more time.
What does that tell you?
My son is invisible inside of a house that nobody's in. My son is invisible inside of a house.
What does that tell you?
My son is invisible inside of a house. That is not new. It's just the last thing that I've been informed of is Sumner County has, as they said, no evidence that he ever left the house.
What does that tell you?
My son is invisible inside of a house that nobody's in.
Well, that's not true. So what, seriously, what do you think? Do you think he's suffered some sort of foul play?
I don't know if there's foul play or not. I'm just stating that that's what they've told me. Well, if that's what you've told me in 3 months.
So they've told him that Sebastian has never left the house. Exactly, Mel. That makes no sense whatsoever. No sense at all. No sense. No sense. Yeah. And then he talks about the CPS.
Let's have some common sense,
Seth, you also said that you got copies of some reports from Child Protective Services about how Sebastian was treated by your ex-wife. Is there anything you can tell us about what was in those reports?
No, ma'am. That is all confidential between me, DCS, and my attorney.
But you don't, and nobody thinks that anything in there might be relevant to what might have happened to him.
Sumner County has had these records since probably day 1, maybe day 2. I had to jump through hoops in order to receive them, or I was told I could go to Sumner County to receive a copy of them.
When we last had you on, we were hopeful that there was a picture that had been found.
Okay, it's about that picture. Look, regarding the CPS reports, there's absolutely no way that any CPS report should get out into the public domain. It doesn't matter what it says in that CPS report. It's confidential because it's concerning a minor child. There's details there about a minor child's life. So it doesn't matter how either innocuous or dreadful they are. It's a blanket policy. Just because they've told Seth he can't release the CPS reports doesn't mean that what is in them is detailing terrible abuse. It's a blanket policy because it contains details of a minor child. It's a blanket policy. It's the same in my country, just as it is in Tennessee. Blackhawk, I disagree with you. I think it's getting pretty obvious law enforcement is treating this like a criminal investigation, not a runaway case. Look, they have to investigate it as if it was a criminal investigation, even if they've got no evidence at this current time that it is. The reason being, just as I've said a few minutes ago, that if they did find at some point in the future, if they found some evidence that Sebastian had been a victim of crime and they'd not treated it like it was a criminal investigation, then everybody would have a right to complain, and there would be injustice after injustice because loads of evidence would have been lost, and the the prosecution possibility, if the integrity of the investigation had not been upheld, would be much reduced. So yeah, they have to treat it. They have to treat the evidence as if it was a criminal investigation, but it doesn't mean to say that there's any evidence that it is. And that's a fact. That's a fact. It's a fact in all missing persons cases, actually. That there's certain evidence that they won't release for that reason. Prefer seeing people's facial expressions. Eyes tell you a lot. Okay, well, that would preclude phone calls then. I don't like talking on the phone. I don't like it. I either prefer seeing someone in person or getting written correspondence from them. I don't like phone calls. That's just me, though, for no particular reason other than I don't like phone calls. But I get what you're saying, that you prefer to see people's faces. But like these days, it's easy. You can jump on FaceTime or Zoom or Skype, and yeah, it's easy these days, isn't it, to keep in contact like that. There's something else about the CPS I'm trying to find. There we go. Seth wants people to believe the CPS reports were about how Sebastian was being treated, but he didn't actually say that. No, he's never said that. And he can't say it. He can't say it because he'd be breaking the law. So I don't think we can read anything into one way or the other. Anyhow, let's move on. This is only 2 minutes. This is from News Channel 2. This is from May the 20th. Now, this is them interviewing him at the vigil on Sunday. So this is him being frustrated and wanting the FBI to take over the case. Has this case gone cold? I don't think you could call a case that's only, less than 3 months old cold, because a case is only cold when there's no longer any leads and any tips coming in. And there are still tips coming in. And one of those tips could be the thing that gives the answer. So no, it's not cold, Joe. It's not cold. Not the only one. Yeah, there's several people in the chat here who dislike phone calls. It's weird, isn't it? I don't know. It's weird. All right, I'm going to play this couple of minutes.
Teenager's father wants an overhaul to the investigation. Good evening and welcome to News 2 at 5. I'm Bob Mueller. 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers disappeared from Sumner County back in February. Now his father tells News 2's Nikki McGee how he wants the investigation to change.
This week will mark 3 months since Sebastian Rogers went missing. And as you might imagine, his father Seth has mounting concerns, some of which he shared with News 2 during a bike ride vigil held for Sebastian Sunday.
I don't sense a state of urgency from them. It's not their kid, it's mine.
Although the FBI and TBI have been assisting the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Seth would now like to see the case turned over to the FBI to take the lead.
I tell people, when you see something, say something. And then they turn around and they tell me they see something and they never get a response. They call the Sheriff's Department. A lady called me. She got my number. She was like, I waited over 4 hours and nobody showed up.
The Sumner County Sheriff's Office tells News 2 they do share in Seth's urgency and are following up on all tips. Another disappointment, Seth's driving all the way out to North Carolina after a possible sighting of Sebastian, only to be told he'd need to go through his local sheriff's office to see the surveillance. The sheriff's office tells News 2 ultimately it wasn't Sebastian.
I just wanted to see his body language and the way the child was walking to see if it was possibly my son. And, the lady, her and her son, I would like to say thank you because that gave me a little bit of hope.
News 2 asked the sheriff's office and the DA if they would consider turning the case over to the FBI. Investigators say they'll continue to work with other law enforcement agencies, and the DA didn't wish to comment on an ongoing investigation. Despite his concerns, Seth was encouraged by the more than 100 people who came out to support Sebastian Sunday.
It gives me hope that my son's case isn't going to become a cold case. And the only reason it'll become a cold case is if the sheriff's department doesn't drop their ego and ask for a new set of eyes.
Nikki McGee, News 2.
Okay.
Turn around and they tell me,
Okay, look. Again, I understand his frustration. I really do. But the FBI can't generate like data. They can't generate information. The FBI can't do any more than what Sumner County and the TBI are doing based on the information that they've received. Now, it's my understanding that this case doesn't even like classify as a case that the FBI would take charge of. I mean, I guess if the TBI asked them to take over, I don't know whether they would. I don't even know whether a missing child case fulfills their remit. I mean, anybody in the US like to comment? Like, it's my understanding that a missing child case is not the purview of the FBI being a lead agency. I've never heard of a missing child case where the FBI is the lead agency. There's nothing more that the FBI could do than the sheriffs and the TBI are doing. They can't generate more leads that are going to lead to Sebastian. If the leads to lead to Sebastian are not there, it doesn't matter who the lead agency is. Does that make sense? They're normally involved if a child was taken across state lines. That's my understanding, yeah. Yeah. So if there was evidence that Sebastian had been abducted, then the FBI probably would take a larger role in it, because there's potential then for Sebastian to have crossed state lines. What about Gannon Stoke? Was the FBI lead agency on that? I don't think the FBI was lead agency on that, even though Letitia had took his body to Florida. But, you know, within a few days, the cops in the Stoke case knew that Letitia was guilty. They knew within a few days that it was her. They just had to build the case because she left a whole trail of devastation behind her. And then the way she behaved, it was just obvious. It was obvious to anybody with a pair of eyes that she was the guilty party. But what LE agencies are involved in Sebastian's case? All of them. All of them. There's Sumner County and TBI. So they're the two agencies that take the tips. So if you look at the Amber Alert, do I have the Amber Alert up here? I do. If you look at the Amber Alert, it's Sumner County Emergency Communications Centre. So that's the Sheriff's Office, 615-451-3838, or the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. So both of those agencies are taking tips. But there's the FBI have been involved. The Secret Service have been involved. It's the FBI and the Secret Service who've analysed all the tech. So they've had the best possible technology to analyse the phones, the games console. If the Secret Service can't crack it, then nobody can. It's not, you know, lots of sheriff's offices, they don't have the latest tech, you know, to do like phone analysis and stuff. But the FBI and the Secret Service do. The Secret Service often get involved in missing child cases through the, what's it called? The National Child Exploitation people. When they get involved, then the Secret Service has links with them, and then they're requested. And if there's tech then the Secret Service will take that tech and analyze it. So I don't know what more can be done. If the FBI and the Secret Service analyzing the tech is not enough for Seth Rogers, I'm sorry, I don't know what else he expects. And I understand his frustration, but it wouldn't matter which agency was named as the lead. If those tech leads don't lead to anything, then the FBI and the Secret Service can't do any more with that. If leads are not coming in from, people on the ground or as a result of the investigation, if they don't find any evidence of foul play amongst any members of the family who have been thoroughly investigated, if they don't get any leads as to Sebastian's whereabouts, then there's nothing more that can be done by any agency, any at all. Doesn't matter who's named as lead agency. If the tips aren't there, the tips aren't there. So they have to be patient and wait for that right tip, or for someone, unfortunately, to come across Sebastian's body during one of the searches. Why do you think they haven't found him yet? I don't think they've found him yet because what they've not done is an exhaustive search of any area, because the 5 mile radius that I talked about a lot yesterday when I did all the map time has been searched in the first 8 days, but it's been searched as in a search for a live person. So that's not a fingertip search. I mean, yeah, in like fields in the immediate vicinity, then they will do grid searches looking for, let's say Sebastian dropping his glasses or something like that, or items of clothing. They'll have looked for all of that. But I think the entire area needs to be searched again. And also, I think it's possible he's got out of the search area. I think it's very possible that he's got out of that 5 mile radius. So I think what is needed is an extension of that 5 mile radius. Now, I know that there's numerous search agencies and private searchers who search beyond that 5 mile radius. But I just want to highlight just how many people came out for this bike rally. There's a scene on here where it shows just how many people were there. Look at all those people. Look at all those people who came out to ride for Sebastian on Sunday. How much of an uplift would the search effort get if all of those people who were prepared to turn out for Sebastian just to ride for him were prepared to turn out for Sebastian to search for him? All of those men and women there look fit. They look like they could search, even if they can only spare 1 day. Even if they can only spare 1 day out of their life. Imagine how much more coverage the area would get if those people who are willing to turn out to ride for Sebastian, who are willing to turn up for vigils, actually put their money where their mouth is and went out and searched for him in an organised fashion. So have a search organisation who is qualified to, be the coordinators of it all, and have experienced searchers going out with small teams. Like, set them all up into small teams and give them an area. And I think without too much problems, you could extend that 5 mile radius and also search again some of the key places within that 5 mile radius. That's my answer. And yeah, that's my answer. A to Z, welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Didn't you join yesterday? Or maybe you didn't, but welcome anyway. I'm just going to answer a few questions before we move on to the next clip here. I'm going to go back a bit. Sebastian's phone didn't have internet access anyway, so there would be no data to find. But he did go on. He did go on social media though, or at Seth's house. He went out. He was on online gaming at Seth's house. So even if his phone didn't offer any leads, even if it didn't have internet access, he could still text. He could still text. And his game console, he had internet access on that. And he was left home alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's 15. He was left home alone, both at Seth's house and at Katie's house. So he could have been talking to any number of people that they didn't know about. He could very easily have met someone online. See, that's my other theory. Used to be my number one theory. It's now my number two theory, that he arranged to meet someone at the construction site. But, you know, 3 months down the line, if they haven't been able to trace anybody, like a car or people walking from the construction site, then I'd say it's less likely than I thought previously. Yeah, Jackie. Yeah, that's my understanding. I'm in the US, and if the case shows that it went across state lines or a federal crime has occurred, yeah. What do they look for in a top to know if it's credible? A tip. What do they look for in a tip? Well, they have to follow up on all tips. So it's only when they've actually followed up on the tip do they know that it's credible. Apart from, you know, there'll be some insane people ringing in about, you know, psychics. You know, I read my tea leaves this morning, therefore I know what happened. Those tips are automatically deemed not credible. So anything else other than absolute nonsense would be considered a potentially credible tip, and they would follow up on it. But it doesn't mean to say that they're going to get back to you. Like if you call in a tip, they don't have the manpower. Like Seth was saying in this interview, that this interview here, that they don't have the manpower. They don't have the manpower to call everybody back. So people sit and wait and think that they're going to get a call back. They'll only call you back if they need more information. If they can follow up on the tip that you sent them without the need for further information, then you're not going to get a call back. And I don't know what he was on about the woman who waited 4 hours. I don't know what that situation was. I've no idea. But if she waited 4 hours for, you know, somebody to come and see her or whatever, then 4 hours is pretty good. I wouldn't complain at 4 hours, you know, unless it was I've got Sebastian here. I've got Sebastian. I've got him. Then, you know, if it took 4 hours for a cop to come out to, you know, to say yeah on air that that's Sebastian and take him into custody, and let the family know that he'd been located, yeah, that would be wrong. That would be totally wrong. Then I would say shout from the rooftops how bad the service is. But unless it's something like that, like I've got him, I've found him, then I don't think 4 hours response time is at all bad. That's all bad. Yeah, they do still have the devices from Seth's house. They do. So if, you know, it's obvious from that it's those devices that contain potential information that they need to preserve. Exactly. We don't even know what surveillance videos law enforcement has, let alone what electronics. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We don't know. And it's those things that need to be preserved. Having said that, I don't think there would be any problems if they released the surveillance video that they had of Sebastian on the Sunday, because we know he was alive and well on the Sunday. You know, just to show us what Sebastian looked like when he was walking. You know, I think that would be useful, but Black Hawk, no. Go and watch my live stream from yesterday. And I've also got at least 2, if not more, short videos about the cameras. Yesterday, I went through and measured the driveways that have Ring cameras. So go and watch that. It's very telling. Having said that, there are some surveillance cameras, not all of the surveillance that's been available in the neighborhood is Ring cameras. Like some of it is surveillance cameras, which would have a bigger, location reach. I don't know what the word is. And yeah, I think some of them, like there's key houses that do have surveillance that potentially a car would have been picked up on. So that goes for, Chris turning up in the middle of the night, which we know didn't happen, or Katie going hiding his body in the middle of the night, which we know didn't happen. So this house here on the corner has got a surveillance camera rather than a Ring doorbell, because we can see it. Where is it? Maybe I've gone too far. We can see it there, and we know what reach that camera has. So that would have caught any car coming in and out of Stafford Court. Presumably, they'd have had their lights on, but even if they didn't have the lights on and it was dark, there may have been some, it's a vehicle passing by is very different than a person. It may miss a person in the dark wearing black, but a vehicle. And then there's these houses here also have cameras. I can't remember which one it is. That one, I think, has got, yeah, that one. That one's got a camera. So anything, I don't know where that goes. So anything coming down Kellen possibly would have been caught on that camera. But here, we don't know, because like some of these houses, that these were like half built, and then this is from last year, so these were only like half built. There's houses all here now, so potentially if this house has a camera, one of these houses here, it would have caught a vehicle leaving from the construction site. But they could have walked over and come out somewhere behind the school, which wouldn't have been caught on any cameras in the neighborhood. Like if they parked a car up here and walked across this field, then it wouldn't have been caught on a car wouldn't have been caught on any surveillance. So it would depend. If somebody had really planned to abduct him, it's possible. What can't you see? Oh, the people. Sorry. Yeah, the people. These. So, as I was saying, if all of these people, many people, got together with a professional search organization that could provide, let's say each search group could have a team leader who was an experienced searcher, and everybody followed protocol, every one of those people could actually do something useful. Because arguably, riding for Sebastian, apart from publicity, obviously, which is a good thing, it does nothing to help find him. The publicity is great, but it's not going to find him, is it? It's not going to find him. All right, moving on. What I want to play you is one of the very early press conferences. I found this press conference really useful It's from February 29th. Now, I made my first video about Sebastian on March the 1st, when nobody knew about the case. Like, I think there was probably only Trev Time at the time who was talking about the case. So I made my first video on it as part of my Where Is series on Michelle Walks on March the 1st, and it was based on this press conference. I had been following the case. I saw the case when the Amber Alert came out, so I was aware of the case from the 27th when they issued the Amber Alert, but I do wait sometimes a couple of days just to see if a kid's been found, you know, because normally kids are found, or, you know, if they're a teenager and they go home. But in this case, obviously, sadly, that didn't happen. But I'm going to play this press conference. So we're going to play it all the way through. It's from February 29th. And then there's some bits I want to pick up on after. But I'm going to let it play all the way through, first of all. So this is News Channel 2. The link to all of these that I'm sharing is in the description box for replay viewers. And I'll put this in the chat. It's really useful. So go and listen to this again in your own time. Like, the amount of detail that they provided, I honestly do not believe that they could have done more in these early stages. I really don't believe they could have done any more than what they've done. All right, let's play it.
I'm Mark Kelly from the WKRN.com alert desk. We're expecting any moment right now an update on the search for that missing teenager, Sebastian Rogers. Let's listen in live.
In a few moments, I'll go through some slides and show you what we've done over the past 4 days of searching. Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need your help to ensure that he is brought home safely.
Okay, and when Chief talks about searching your homes, if you've got a farm, we are aware, we're well aware that the tendency to follow creeks is great. And we've actually done some case studies, some history on calls and searches in the past where young men or young women have traveled to creeks. So we want you to look at creeks. We want you to look at ponds. And if you look at a pond, look for foot tracks around the pond. And then we'll go into, when Chief's ready, we're going to go into pictures and we'll show you our operational periods and the maps that we use to track our searchers. Okay. So this is day one, and all of the rings you see are a fixed wing aircraft, TBI's fixed winged aircraft, and they use a FLIR, and they do a continual circle on a 2-mile ring, and the video quality and the pictures that they produce are amazing. And the lines that you see that are going all over the place, the green and the purple and the blues, those are helicopters, THP Metro. And then all of the lines in the middle, when you draw that in, those are our foot searchers. So in the first 2 days, we logged over 2,000 miles of personnel on foot doing searches in those search areas. If you want to go to the next page. So that's day 2. And you can see we're continuing to expand those search areas, and you'll see clues, you'll see markers. If a searcher finds something, they mark it. We send a detective or detectives to that scene or to that area. And if they find evidence, we haven't found any evidence. And but if they find something that they think is substantial, CID investigates it. Go on to the next day. That's the next day TBI was back. That second day we had really bad weather with rain, and so these are the rings from TBI again, and they did some almost tri-oval type figures when we were looking at particular areas, and they were looking at streams at that time, and a lot of helicopter, and then more ground troops, and then we got one more day, and then today we're expanding west, and you can see those areas that personnel are searching. And so what we do is we get them in, and we've got an app that they utilize, and they create tracks, and you can see the tracks in those sections as they do the search. And we've got several other things going on. We're utilizing drones, K9, and UTVs, ATVs, horses, aircraft, and anything at our disposal to get Sebastian located.
Like Director Widener said, what you didn't see on there was any drone track. The drones aren't tracked on Sartopo. What you didn't see on there were several assets that didn't have the app that day. So what you're seeing is what we know we have tracked. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. We have no evidence to disprove that. The family has been nothing but cooperative with law enforcement and our investigation. We are truly operating under the assumption that there's a child missing that needs our help. So if the public is out there and you have a house close by or not close by, right? Check your property twice a day. If you find something, call us. If you have trail cams out on properties that you hunt, check them. If there's an image that you think could be Sebastian, call us. Anything, any tip that you have, call us. We want to bring Sebastian home.
And when the chief says, even if it's not right here, so I actually spoke to the incident commander of a search operation that happened west of here, and a 14-year-old went missing and was found 9 days later, 6.2 miles from home. So we're looking at, we don't want to go out too far, too fast, but even if you live in Davidson County, if you live in Robertson County, if you live anywhere in Sumner County and adjoining counties that you think he could have made it to your property, search those creeks, streams, tributaries, ponds, barns, outbuildings, vacant homes, anything, any place that you think he could be.
One tip, if you're searching your property, is to search it in pairs. If we have aerial assets up and they see someone walking alone through a field, we're going to deploy resources to make sure that is not Sebastian. Secondly, if you're out searching your field and something happens to you, someone needs to be able to call for help and tend to you while we're on the way to help you. So if you're searching, please search in pairs and be safe.
What's the weather been like to possibly affect the search?
Weather, our primary concern with weather is for Sebastian. So the rain that we got and the cold temperatures yesterday and into last night gave us concern for hypothermia. But for rescuers, we put rain gear on and we go. Our mounted people, we're using a lot of tactical officers at night with FLIR or with night vision. And so our search personnel, the weather does not bother them. They go and they're going to perform the search. We're looking at rain tomorrow. The temperature is going to stabilize a little bit. 245 and 17 are feeding us weather on request, and National Weather Service is working with us every day, sending us information if anything changes. So,
Chief, I know you guys had asked for doorbell cam and surveillance camera. Have you guys been able, since Sunday night, Monday morning, been able to actually put eyes on Sebastian? Has any video actually shown him walking?
We have had several clips that have come in. Several of them we've been able to dispel that's not Sebastian on that clip. We are still working every lead that comes in. So as the video comes in, our detectives, we're working really well alongside the TBI and all of our other law enforcement partners in the region to make sure that we're getting on them just as quickly as possible.
But there hasn't been one video that you guys have had that you said that's...
There is not a confirmed sighting of Sebastian on camera.
Gotcha.
Was any of the canines able to pick up on his scent or something that can lead you to maybe a direction where he might have been?
We've done that. We've actually cast the dogs at intersections to see if they take us. And our dogs are scent specific, and we have scent articles from the home, and they have not. We have gotten some tracks away from the home, and we haven't had anything that leads us to Sebastian, obviously.
You mentioned that you've covered about 2,000 miles, correct? What's the word on the amount of volunteers and people helping?
We'll address that later. We still got plenty of, and what you got to understand is span of control and manageability. And I know there's a lot of talk out there, you need to get more people out there, but we've got to do it coordinated, and we've got to be able to monitor and ensure the safety of our searchers. So right now we've got so many public safety assets that we can track and we can communicate with, that we are in good shape right now. And we are discussing the possibility of going into volunteers.
We have begun the conversation of coordinating with local volunteer groups. Should we need them, there's a plan in place. What I don't want is to have 1,000 people out in the woods, someone get injured, and now we have to deploy resources to them that should be deployed to get Sebastian home safely. As of right now, I've talked to the FBI, I've talked to world-renowned detectives from the Middle Tennessee area, and every one of them has said we're doing everything that we should be doing. We're doing everything that we can. I'm open to ideas. If someone's got an idea that we're not applying yet, let me know. I'll apply it.
Do you know how many hours, how many miles you guys have clocked in and searched so far?
2,000 by foot the first 2 days. We're not tracking hours now. We'll put all that together. We'll do an after action report. But now we're going through the day, preparing this afternoon for tomorrow. We've got a team that's doing that. We've even got the tax assessor's office working with us on additional mapping for streams and creeks that we want to make sure we're covering. And I'll tell y'all, we're hitting streams and creeks heavy. So that's something we need done is creeks, streams, tributaries checked, because the watershed from the Tyree Springs area coming down in here. One thing I've learned about autism is the stamina, the pain threshold, the drive in these men and women, young boys and young girls is greater than ours. Okay. So the particular case in northern Mississippi and West Tennessee, this young man walked until he passed out. And when they got to him, he was laying face down and they were like, oh my, but he was unconscious. And they've done stories on him. And so that's something we're looking at, and we urge people to get out and check those locations. A lot of farms in Sumner County, a lot of creeks in Sumner County, check them.
I hate to cut you guys off, but I'm really focused on getting Sebastian home, and we need to get back out and make sure we're doing everything we can. I really appreciate you guys being here and covering the story. And as soon as there's an update, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Tell me, guys, what more could they have done? What more could they have done? And it's this press conference where I take most of my information from, you know, in terms of what they've done, how they've done it. And I see very, very few people talking about the details, the actual facts of this case. We have not seen a press conference, to my knowledge, as detailed as this in recent cases, at least. They've already focused on the parents. Christy, the reason why people are not playing the presses that have so much detail in them is because they don't fit the narrative. They don't fit the narrative. So, yeah, there will be creators who played this when it was actually, this was February 29th. Virtually nobody was following this case then. And I saw a number of you in the chat while this was playing said, I've never seen this before. And no, most people haven't. How many views did this get? Oh, it did get nearly 75k views, actually. So a lot of people have seen it, or at least, you know, seen some of it. But very few creators at the time were following this case. And so unless you go back and actually find these press conferences, and seemingly many people have, then you're not going to know about it, are you? Are you? So I think it's worth, you know, giving these guys the credit where credit's due. Wish they would give a presser on Summer. Yeah, they never did anything so detailed for Summer Wells. Like for the first 13 days, they did that acute search for Summer, and then they were updating almost daily for the first 9 days. They did presses on the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, the 21st, and the 24th. I've got all Summer's presses on Michelle Walks. And then they just went radio silent. They just went radio silent. That's right, Angie baby. That's true. Everybody was focusing on Madeline's case because, you know, that moves so fast. Madeline Soto's case, because, you know, she was reported missing on the same day as Sebastian. So Sebastian didn't get any coverage until much later, because there was Madeline, then there was Riley Strain. And it was only after Riley Strain was found that a lot of people who were in Riley Strain's case came over to Sebastian's. Like a lot of the searchers who went out looking for Riley in the Cumberland River actually came over, because it's only a few miles away, actually came over to do some work on Sebastian's case as well. But people have, I'm talking creators here, have focused so heavily on the parents when there is absolutely no evidence at all that any of the parents have done anything wrong. People have just ignored this vital, important information. They've ignored press conferences, they've ignored the dispatch audio, and they only use clips and stuff that fit their narrative. And that is wrong. You've got to be led by the evidence, not a preconceived notion of what you believe when it's not true, when there's no evidence that leads you in that direction. Yes, some have taken it even further by accusing the cops of being in some part of conspiracy. I know. Now, listen. There are cases, many cases where cops are corrupt. We only need to look at the Karen Reid trial to know that there's something wrong there. There's something completely wrong there. But so I'm going to play little bits and pieces of this that I want to stop and talk about. So I'm going to play this through again, and I'm going to stop it. And just, you know, make some points.
Help to ensure that he is brought home safe.
Okay, and when Chief talks about searching your homes, if you've got a farm, we're well aware that the tendency to follow creeks is great, and we've actually done some case studies, some history on calls and searches in the past where young men or young women have traveled to creeks. So we want you to look at creeks. We want you to look at ponds. And if you look at a pond, look for foot tracks around the pond. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack even in that. This guy is really good. Widener, I think his name. I can't remember his first name. So he's the chief of the EMA. So ponds, they know that there was footprints around the retention pond at the construction site. So at the time that this came out, the footprints around the ponds, you know, in muddy areas around the ponds, that was just hypothetical. But once we heard the dispatch audio, we know that there was actual footprints around a pond. So obviously that's why he said it, that they knew there was footprints around a pond. They also knew from the parents that Sebastian was drawn to water. And it's absolutely true that a lot of people who go walking, not just running away or follow creek lines, because if the terrain's, you know, pretty steep, they follow the creek lines because that's flat. It's easier to walk along the creek lines, like along the, you know, the bed of the creek if it's shallow, or on the banks of a creek. So walking creek lines on your property, if you've got like several acres and you've got a creek running through your property, then obviously check that. And also there's evidence left behind, like on creek banks, you've got more likely to find footprints where you know, the edge of the water where it's muddy. And also going for a drink. You know, if somebody's walking and they come across a creek, they might decide to cross the creek, leave footprints on the edge, or they might decide to have a drink in the creek and leave footprints on the edge. So it's just looking for that evidence and looking for that evidence trail. And at least then, if they could get a footprint, because they found footprints at the retention pond, which they will presumably have photographed and measured.
So they'll know what size foot Sebastian was. They'll be able to gauge what size the footprint at the retention pond was, and they'll be able to match it. So the same if they found any other footprints, somewhere else. So asking people to look for footprints, absolutely the right thing to do. And he's not just basing it on, hypotheticals. He's basing it on past cases. He's basing it on what he knows people do. So, yeah, I really like this guy. If anybody saw the interview the other day on Duty Ron's channel, Dave Rader from EquiSearch Midwest and Twyla Cisco, the drone person, were on Duty Ron's channel, and Dave Rader said that when they were there, EquiSearch were there, they cleared 50 ponds. Like the whole place, the whole area is scattered with ponds, and they cleared 50 ponds. That's insane. So at least we know he's not in any of the ponds in the nearby area.
And then we'll go into, when Chief's ready, we're going to go into pictures, and we'll show you our operational periods and the maps that we use to track our searchers. Okay, so this is day one, and all of the rings you see are a fixed wing aircraft, TBI's fixed winged aircraft, and they use a FLIR, and they do a continual circle on a 2-mile ring. And the video quality and the pictures that they produce are amazing. And the lines that you see that are going all over the place, the green and the purple and the blues, those are helicopters, THP Metro. And then all of the lines in the middle, when you draw that in, those are our foot searchers. So in the first 2 days, we logged over 2,000 miles of personnel on foot doing searches in those search areas. If you want to go to the next page.
Okay, so I took a screenshot of that so we could zoom in. So all the lines are foot searchers. So this is the plane, and then all these are foot searchers. Now, they logged in the first 2 days 2,000 miles, like collectively, like all the people who were out, who were, using the trackers. And what you can see is they're covering a lot of ground. They're covering a lot of ground because in the first 2 days, they are very much hoping to find a live person. So although they've covered a lot of ground, what they've done is they've also missed a lot. So if Sebastian sadly was deceased in the first 2 days, had an accident or, fallen down a ravine or cracked his skull or whatever, that's, horrible, it's possible, despite the massive effort and the expanse that they've covered, that he's missed. Why? Because they're looking for a live person who will assist them. If you're lost or you're injured, you're going to shout as soon as you hear anything, either a dog in the undergrowth or people shouting your name or a helicopter above. You'll make yourself known. So when they're looking for a live person, they don't have to cover every inch of ground. So, there's an entire field there that's not been walked. There's an entire piece of woodland there that's not been walked, like they've walked around the edge. So there's loads of gaps. So any one of these pictures that are going to be shown, it's dead impressive and it's a massive amount of work, but it's searching for a live person. Did you mention Katie's abuse speech? I don't know what you mean by that, Mike. Katie's abuse speech. You would think if he crawled in a hole, an animal would have found his body and the scent would be easy to find with a dog. Not necessarily. You have to have that dog in the right vicinity. to be able to do that. And if your dog is searching with obviously with its handler for a live person, then it's following one of these tracks, and it's missing a huge amount of coverage there, acreage. Got too many things open. Hold on, just let me close some of these windows down. All right, next day.
So that's day 2, and you can see we're continuing to expand those search areas, and you'll see clues, you'll see markers. If a searcher finds something, they mark it. We send a detective or detectives to that scene or to that area. And if they find evidence, we haven't found any evidence. And but if they find something that they think is substantial, CID investigates it. Go on to the next day.
All right. So this is day 2. And it's not clear because they didn't put a big picture up. So I don't know what the red blocks stand for. I don't know whether it means that entire area has been cleared. I don't know what the answer to that is. These are clues. So where they found a clue, then they put it into their app, and then they can investigate that further. So I don't know whether that means that it's been cleared, like a tick. I don't know. Obviously don't have can't analyze it because we don't know what all of the things means. All right, next day. Okay. So this one, I think those rings are helicopter. So they got the helicopter out. So they'd had a fixed wing plane out, which is these rings. That will be the first day. This is helicopter. And then all of these squiggles will be like ground searching. But again, they focused heavily on this area. It'd be nice to know where Sebastian's house is in relation to this. Like, you can't tell exactly where Sebastian's house is in relation to this, but that's, they're covering the woods there. They've gone like to the west and they're covering the woods. But again, there's large areas that are not covered. Like, look at that. Like, could be in there, could be in there, could be in there, could be in there, could be in there. And if you're dead, you can't make yourself known, obviously. This is why it's a fantastic effort, a massive effort to blue is helicopter and green is planes. Okay. It's a massive effort, right? A huge effort. However, what I mean, look at that. That's thorough. That's really thorough. That will have been grid searching. All of that red there will have been grid searching. So they've got steep terrain. We've got some notes in here. Don't know what that stands for. I think these are names of the searchers. But that's steep terrain. Noted in there. Don't know what these red dots are. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Well, that's very... I wonder whether that's around the house. Can't tell. But as you go further out, there's large areas. Look, large areas that have not been searched. At least on this day. I mean, obviously, I put it all together. But it's a massive effort in the search for a live person. But it's so easy to miss a body. So this is focused in on one area. So these will have been grid searched, I'm assuming. Each one of these is a grid. I'm assuming that's what it is. So that's Sebastian's house there, I'm assuming. So that's the immediate neighbourhood. I'm just guessing. So they've gone west. They've gone west of the house, and that's where all that thick woodland is. If you look on the map here. So Sebastian's house is here. And west is all that woodland. So they were in all that. They've been in all that. But what you can see from these pictures is that because they've been searching for a live person, then there's large areas that don't get covered. And it's very possible, I can't really see that very well. It's very possible that a dead person, if they're down a ravine, down a hole, in a cave that's, got some collapsing structure in it that they can't search through, it's very possible that they'd miss a deceased person, which is why I keep saying all of this area, however well it's been searched, so that's all that thick woodland, I'd like to see it done again, and I'd like to see them go further out to look at. This is maps rather than all the stuff that I did yesterday on Google Earth, but I've put the 5 mile radius in, so it comes to about here, but maybe a little bit lower. But I'd like to see them go out further. I mean, look, all that. And then to the west, it's just all rural. All rural. So we are under the what did you say? All right, so that does those maps don't include drones. So they've done more. They've done more than what's on those maps because drones are not tracked, and then not all the searchers carry those apps. So they can only track what they can track. We are working under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. So where has Seth Rogers got information from law enforcement to tell him that Sebastian never left the house? Where has he got that from? Has he actually got that from law enforcement, or has he got that from some random nutter on the internet? Where is Seth's common sense? Law enforcement have never said or implied that Sebastian never left that house. So they are working under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and they have never changed that. They have never changed that viewpoint. Not in public anyway. Seth never said he never left the house. He said there's no evidence that he never left the house. Well, if there's no evidence that he left the house, then law enforcement would be working under the possibility that he never left the house. That's not what they're saying. They're saying they're working under the assumption that he did leave the house, because to walk off, by definition, you leave the house. No evidence to disprove that he walked off, which means that on day 4, this is February 29th, day 4, because they had all day 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th is day 4, right? So they searched that house thoroughly, several times, 10 times we've heard, over the first few days. Different dog teams, different people, forensics. So no evidence that anything happened to him in the house. So no evidence to change their mind that Sebastian walked off. How's Cassie and Noodle? They're doing great. We got absolutely soaking this morning. Soaking. So I keep saying that they said early on in the investigation that property owners, both close by and not so close by, like even miles away, check your property twice a day, morning and night, because if Sebastian's on the move, then he could have, taken shelter. He could have rummaged through dumpsters for food. They were asking people to check their property. Anything that appeared to have moved, anything unusual, like, I don't know, if you have a dumpster with a lid on, is your lid crooked? Did you not leave your property like that? And if you can't check your property, you would call them and they'd check it for you. How many of you leave shoes outside? I do quite often when they've got mud on them. But when I leave shoes outside, it means imminent death for that shoe, because I always forget to bring them back in. So they die. I think there's a pair of wellies outside from probably last winter. What age are your dogs? Tilly's nearly 8. She'll be 8 in July. Cassie's 3 and Noodle is 2 in about 2 weeks.
Streaks, creek stream.
Did the sound go off? Oh, hold on. I'll rewind it back a bit. Weird. I think it's because I wasn't sharing this screen.
Close by or not close by, right? Check your property twice a day. If you find something, call us. If you have trail cams out on properties that you hunt, check them. If there's an image that you think could be Sebastian, call us. Anything, any tip that you have, call us. We want to bring Sebastian home.
And when the chief says, even if it's not right here, So I actually spoke to the incident commander of a search operation that happened west of here, and a 14-year-old went missing, was found 9 days later, 6.2 miles from home. So we're looking at, we don't want to go out too far, too fast, but even if you live in Davidson County, if you live in Robertson County, if you live anywhere in Sumner County and adjoining counties that you think he could have made it to your property, search those creeks, streams, tributaries, ponds, barns, outbuildings, vacant homes, anything, any place that that you think he could be.
Look, this Cassie he mentioned, a kid had been missing for 9 days, and they found him 6.2 miles away from home. You could easily walk 6.2 miles in 9 days. You could walk 6.2 miles in one night. So it's very possible that Sebastian got off the, like, even in the first night, walked further than the 5 mile radius, which they searched. So Sebastian could have walked 6-7 miles in a night. If he went out at midnight, he's got a 7-hour advantage, because the search began just before 7 o'clock, as we saw from the dispatch audio. Like, there was, boots on the ground, like, starting to, get there about 6:45. He had a 7-hour advantage. If he went out at midnight, he could have walked miles. And, I don't know why, but he could have. He could be lying somewhere way out of the search area, and nobody's picked him up because nobody's searched there.
One tip, if you're searching your property, is to search it in pairs. If we have aerial assets up and they see someone walking alone through a field, we're going to deploy resources to make sure that is not Sebastian. Secondly, if you're out searching your field and something happens to you, someone needs to be able to call for help and tend to you while we're on the way to help you. So,
yeah, well, again, they're probably talking from experience here, because on the dispatch audio from the first morning, one of the drone pilots saw a figure like in a field, and they all rushed there thinking that they found him, and it was a mannequin. So yeah, it's funny. Off topic, I'm binging Crime Stories Sunday on your Christmas missing videos. Do you have plans to do any other similar? Because I'm obsessed. Yes, I've got a long list of Crime Stories Sunday topics to cover, but they take a lot of research. Each one takes a lot of time, and with all the cases that I'm covering at the moment, I've just not had the time to do it. But yeah, I do. I've got a big long list of stuff that I want to cover. The first time it was actually a mannequin. It was so funny because the guy who found the mannequin went, "It's a mannequin." Like, pissed off, because they'd all run there. They'd all got there, like, we need people. There's a person. No, it's a mannequin. It's funny as anything.
if you're searching, please search in pairs and be safe.
What's the weather been like to possibly affect the search?
Weather, our primary concern with weather is for Sebastian. So the rain that we got and the cold temperatures yesterday and into last night gave us concern for hypothermia.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, for those people who are still saying, I'm still seeing it on creators as recently as last night, saying that it was 20-degree temperatures on the night Sebastian went missing. No, it wasn't. It was 55 on the 25th into the 26th. The lowest temperature was 55 degrees. That's not cold. Might be if you're living in Australia or somewhere in the desert, but that's not cold for somebody living in a temperate climate like Tennessee. Right? On the 27th, it was warm. And then the 27th into the 28th, it dropped. The temperature dropped to minus like 20 degrees. It was that. So he said, like last night, we were concerned for Sebastian because of the weather. So this was the 29th. So it would be the 27th into the 28th. So that night, and then the 28th into the 29th. They were concerned because of hypothermia, because the temperature dropped. Just don't listen to these nonsense spreaders who can't even be bothered to go and check a weather app. There are multiple weather apps. Just type in Hendersonville, Tennessee, or Gallatin, Tennessee, or any town in the vicinity, and you can look at the temperature, the highest, the lowest, the rainfall. You can look at it for February. Go and check it.
But for rescuers, we put rain gear on and we go. Our mounted people, we're using a lot of tactical officers at night with FLIR or with night vision. And so our search personnel, the weather does not bother them. They go and they're going to perform the search. We're looking at rain tomorrow. The temperature is going to stabilize a little bit. 2, 4, 5, and 17 are feeding us.
That's right. So in the days after, so you had this cold snap, like the 28th, the 29th, the 1st, and then it got warmer. So, yeah.
Weather on request, and National Weather Service is working with us every day, sending us information if anything changes. So.
Chief, I know you guys had asked for doorbell cam and surveillance camera. Have you guys been able, since Sunday night, Monday morning, been able to actually put eyes on Sebastian? Has any video actually shown him walking?
We have had several clips that have come in. Several of them we've been able to dispel that's not Sebastian on that clip. We are still working every lead that comes in. So as the video comes in, our detectives.
They do check the apps. They can't interpret the information. Oh, well. I can't help them then. I can't help them.
We're working really well alongside the TBI and all of our other law enforcement partners in the region to make sure that we're getting on them just as quickly as possible.
But there hasn't been one video that you guys have had that you said that's...
There is not a confirmed sighting of Sebastian on camera.
Gotcha. Was any of the canines able to pick up on a scent or something that can lead you to maybe a direction where he might have been?
We've done that. We've actually cast the dogs at intersections to see if they take us, and our dogs are scent specific, and we have scent articles from the home, and they have not. We have gotten some tracks away from the home.
We have got some tracks away from the home. So although the dogs haven't led them on one specific track that have led them to Sebastian, they have got tracks from the dogs away from the home. So what they were doing, they were casting the dogs, so setting the dogs off at certain intersections. So they do this. If they've no idea what direction to go in. Why is it giving me Stafford and not Stafford Court? What's going on? Right. Okay. So they'd have set a dog off there, for example. Right. There, for example, they'd have set a dog off there. So intersections to see whether a dog could pick up a track and at least give them a direction. But the only tracks they got, as I keep saying, were to the construction site. So they'd have set a dog off there, probably. What I want them to do, or wanted them to do, and I don't know whether they did it, would be set a dog off there. Because you're setting a dog off on intersections. What are these intersections? They're artificial surfaces. So what the scent will do, the scent will disperse off the artificial surface. It'll pool in certain areas as it's blown around, and it confuses the dogs. I do have a little bit of like footage, just a minute footage from a bloodhound. this is from March the 1st. So I don't know whether this footage was taken on March the 1st. It was just posted by News Channel 2 on March the 1st. So let's have a watch at this. So this is News Channel 2, and this is a bloodhound. So again, this is posted March the 1st, but it may not have been. It may have been from earlier. So just showing this bloodhound here being started off on a road or close to a road. So he's trying to find a scent. He's in the air. He's down on the ground. I don't know where that is specifically. I don't know what road that is. But he's not finding anything. There's no urgency at all. He's having a sniff around though. But he's not found anything. He's just having fun. He's having a walk about. He's having fun. This hasn't had many views. 1,000 views. Only one comment. What happened? No scent. No, he didn't find anything from that particular location. I found that when I was looking for the presser this morning, so I thought I'd share that with you. Blue tick coonhound. Yeah, a blue tick coonhound was one of the dogs that got a scent. But they've got bloodhound in their ancestry. That was a bloodhound. But there was a bloodhound and a blue tick coonhound that got a scent. But that particular dog was a bloodhound, 100% bloodhound. Let's get a good shot of him. Or her. Let me see. It's a bloodhound, without a doubt. Oh, there you go. It's a bloodhound. A blue tick coonhound, for those not knowing what they look like, is this. Blue tick coonhound. This guy. Cute, aren't they? So they look a bit like bloodhounds. Because they've got them in their ancestry. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's cute. That's so cute. I know my dog breeds. Listen, I know my dog breeds.
And we haven't had anything that leads us to Sebastian, obviously.
You mentioned that you've covered about 2,000 miles, correct? What's the word on the amount of volunteers and people helping?
We'll address that later. We've still got plenty of, and what you got to understand is span of control and manageability. And I know there's a lot of talk out there. You know, you need to get more people out there, but we've got to do it coordinated, and we've got to be able to monitor and ensure the safety of our searchers. So right now we've got so many public safety assets that we can track and we can communicate with, that we are in good shape right now. And we are discussing the possibility of going into volunteers.
We have begun the conversation of coordinating with local volunteer groups. Should we need them, there's a plan.
And they did that. They had some volunteers out. I think it was probably the day after this or 2 days after this that they got some volunteers out. Chasing Truth has an autistic teenage son. She said her and hubby thought about moving a year ago. Her son just recently brought it up again, how he doesn't want to move. Yeah. You know, some kids, they don't forget. and they worry about it. You watched a bunch of my blooper videos. Yeah, they're funny, aren't they? Oh dear. I had a blue tick hound a long time ago. She was a great hunter. Yeah, they are. That's what they're bred for. That's what they're bred for. All the hounds. That's their job. Hunting.
Plan in place. What I don't want is to have 1,000 people out in the woods, someone get injured, and now we have to deploy resources to them that should be deployed to get Sebastian home safely. As of right now, I've talked to the FBI, I've talked to world-renowned detectives from the Middle Tennessee area, and every one of them has said we're doing everything that we should be doing. We're doing everything that we can. I'm open to.
There you go. The FBI said that they are doing everything they can. Sumner County were doing everything they can at that stage. Bringing in the FBI as a lead agency, as Seth Rogers wants, isn't going to give them any more answers. If the tips don't lead them to Sebastian, the tips don't lead them to Sebastian, regardless of who's named on letterheaded paper as the lead agency. Makes no difference. No difference.
Ideas. If someone's got an idea that we're not applying yet, let me know. I'll apply it.
Do you know how many hours, how many miles you guys have clocked in and searched so far?
2,000 by foot the first 2 days. We're not tracking hours now. We'll put all that together. We'll do an after action report. But now we're going through the day, preparing this afternoon for tomorrow. We've got a team that's doing that. We've even got the tax assessor's office working with us on additional mapping for streams and creeks that we want to make sure we're covering. And I'll tell y'all, we're hitting streams and creeks heavy. So that's something we need done is creeks, streams, tributaries checked, because the watershed from the Tyree Springs area coming down in here. One thing I've learned about autism is the stamina, the pain threshold, the drive in these men and women, young boys and young girls is greater than ours. Okay. So the particular case in northern Mississippi and West Tennessee, this young man walked until he passed out. And when they got to him, he was laying face down and they were like, oh my, but he was unconscious. And they've done stories on him. And so that's something we're looking at, and we urge people to get out and check those locations. A lot of farms in Sumner County, a lot of creeks in Sumner County, check them.
I hate to cut you guys off, but I'm really focused on getting Sebastian home, and we need to get back out and make sure we're doing everything we can. I really appreciate you guys being here and covering the story. And as soon as there's an update, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so it was you know, I don't know whether every autistic person has that kind of stamina, but at least they're aware of it. At least they're aware of it. Right, the weather. The weather. Yes, I understand. So somebody said, let me find it. All right. So Dawn says, looking at several weather apps, they mostly show 55 as the low, but there is one, AccuWeather, that does say 28. No, it doesn't. This is AccuWeather. You just have to learn how to read it. So 26th. So 26th of February, 2024, AccuWeather, 26, 55 degrees. So that would have been from midnight on the 26th. So that's the time that Sebastian went missing. So midnight, the 26th, is the 26th, right? Midnight is the 26th. So going from midnight to 6 a.m., at some point during that time, it would have been as low as 55 degrees. Throughout the day of the 26th, it would have been as a high of 76 degrees. And then it starts to drop a little bit, but it's very warm on the 27th. So the 26th into the 27th, the lowest is 62. The highest throughout the day on the 27th is 75. Then on the 28th, so it's the 27th into the 28th, right? So from midnight on the 28th the lowest is 35. So that's from midnight on the 28th. Going into the day of the 28th, the weather is cold at night. Warm in the day, but cold at night. Same, 28th into 29th, cold. Where are people reading that anywhere on the 26th, it says 55? Oh, I'm not even sharing. But yeah, this is AccuWeather. Look. Warm. That's midnight 26th. The lowest. From midnight 26 to 6 a.m. when Sebastian went missing, the lowest temperature was 55. Warm, anytime 27th. Then 35 degrees. That will be from midnight on the 28th into the day of the 28th. The lowest is 35. So there's a hypothermia risk. And then starts to warm up slightly at night, but still cold. Where are we getting 26 degrees from? Where are we getting 26 degrees or 28 degrees? Where are we getting it from? Where are we getting it from? Can somebody inform me where they're getting it from? Where are they getting it from? Because the 25th, that would have been midnight on the 25th. No, it's not Celsius. No, they're not talking about Celsius. So this would have been midnight on the 25th. So that would have been, as the clock strikes midnight, you get into Sunday. So from midnight on Sunday into the day, as the day dawns, the lowest point on that night was 28, according to AccuWeather. Yes, this is showing recorded high and lows, Black Hawk. Even though you don't want to believe it, this is what it's showing. This is AccuWeather for February 2024. People do not understand how to read basic data. How far can you get with no shoes, no jacket, no phone, no water, and no food? Well, probably several miles, Mike Jetson. Probably several miles. Because you can survive without water for a few days. And if it's warm, it doesn't matter. If you're walking, if it's warm, you're not going to get hypothermia. And 55 degrees, it's colder than 55 degrees today. And I went out in just like a light top today. I got soaked to the skin, but it was warm. And it was probably about 55 now. I'm not really sure, but it's raining. I think I don't know what the temperature is, but it's warm. So everybody who keeps saying the temperature was 26 or 28 degrees, they're talking about the night before. But the 25th that became the 26th, the highest temperature was 68. It didn't drop much. It only dropped as low as 55 as we went into the day on the 26th. And the highest temperature was 76. So that's warm. So he didn't have a risk of hypothermia on the 26th or the 27th. As long, he didn't. It's here, this night, that there was a real risk of hypothermia. Let's look at another site that has a map for people who don't understand basic tables. Why will it not let me out? Why is it just giving me AccuWeather the whole time? All right, where are you? Come on now. All right. Okay. Weather Underground. So look. Is this the one with the map? Oh, it is. This is the one with the map, look. This is the one with the map. This makes it easier to understand. Okay. All right, look. Okay. Right. So This is Sunday the 25th. All right, Sunday the 25th. Okay, Sunday the 25th. So that's 24th. So we move from Saturday the 24th into Sunday the 25th. Maximum temperature 68, minimum temperature 30. So it's slightly different. It said 28 on the other one. But then we go all the way through Sunday, and then we get to midnight on Monday. And the minimum temperature, you can look at the lines to see, the minimum temperature is 57 on this one. The maximum temperature is 75. Remains hot the whole day, right? Carries on being hot into the 27th. Tuesday the 27th, minimum 62. Then we get into Wednesday 28th, and look, over the night from the 27th to the 28th, look how much it drops. Can we not read a basic graph? Or are you just choosing not to understand it because it doesn't fit your narrative? Is that what it is? All right. Last clip I want to show you is it's a little interview that Nick Beres did on April the 2nd with Eric Craddock, who's the chief at Sumner County, chief deputy at Sumner County. All right. So they had no more information on April 2nd when Nick Beres interviewed him. I wish they'd show the whole interview because they've only shown clips. But he still does not state that there's any signs of foul play. In fact, they're no further forward. So what we can do, as they're no further forward, they've no more reliable information, what we can do is base it on what we know. So what we know was that massively amount of detailed information that they gave us on the 29th of February. And we can also take the vast amount of information that I went through in yesterday's live stream, which was in relation to what we heard on the dispatch audio. So there's that. So we're going to play this. It's less than 2 minutes. So we're going to play this. I'll stop it maybe once or twice. So this is News Channel 5. Again, the link to this is in the description box for replay viewers, but I will pop it in the chat so that you can grab it if you want. Okay, cool. All right. Too many windows open. Here we go.
There's been an exhaustive search for Sebastian Rogers, but with few updates from authorities in recent weeks, some have wondered, is enough being done?
We're doing everything we can do. Every time a tip comes in, we follow up on it.
Eric Craddock is chief deputy with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office and heads up the investigation. He sat down for an exclusive one-on-one to talk about what they do when there are few new leads.
I think in the absence of information, what we'll continue to do is go back over everything we've already done once, put a fresh set of eyes on it.
To that end, Craddock says searchers recently found a pair of glasses, which they are checking to see if they belong to Sebastian. He says the parents continue to fully cooperate.
All right, so that was the day they found the glasses. They did confirm, all right, they did confirm very quickly that they weren't Sebastian's glasses. All right, I think they've been planted, but anyway.
Evidence of foul play. We have not cleared anyone, but we have absolutely no evidence to support foul play.
I asked about...
There we go. Absolutely no evidence to support foul play. And they do not clear people. It's not a word they use, right? We hear the word, I've been cleared, or he's been cleared, or she's been cleared, and whatever, right? It's not a word law enforcement uses. So they don't clear people. But what they do say is nobody is a suspect. There's no suspects, and there's absolutely no sign of foul play, despite all of the exhaustive searches that they've done on the property, in the house, and beyond. Planted, really? I believe they were planted, yeah, because they were on the street that right next to where Chris Profoot's mother and stepdad live. They were like on the corner of their street. So, yeah, I think some idiot planted them. I mean, maybe not, but we won't put it past these idiots have planted evidence before, and then found it.
An exclusive home security video obtained from the neighborhood the night Sebastian disappeared. You can see two suspicious light sources.
And we know that these suspicious light sources are not flashlights, even though Nick Beres would like to believe it is.
Which we've circled here in an area behind the teen's home. Since we first aired the video last month, authorities have said no evidentiary value.
It is of no evidentiary value.
Can you tell me what those lights are?
No.
Why?
Because the investigation remains ongoing.
And so it could play a role down the road depending on developments?
We don't know what we don't know. So yes, it could play a role.
So many are, of course, closely followed.
It could play a role if it's found out at some later time that the garbage truck people were involved in Sebastian's abduction. But what we do know from the family is that it was a garbage truck. Maybe they didn't want that releasing. But there's no evidence of foul play at all. No evidence of foul play. So presumably, the garbage truck people have been investigated. The landfill that they took the garbage to has been investigated. So there's that.
Following this case, how difficult has it been, all the noise on social media?
Oh, the rumor mill on social media has done nothing to advance this case.
Craddock says investigators...
Yeah, but it's done a whole lot to hinder it. A whole lot to hinder it. But, makes people money, doesn't it?
Continue to work the case daily and deal not with feelings, but facts and evidence.
There's no stone left unturned.
Nick Beres, News Channel 5.
All right. No stone left unturned. No stone left unturned. So that was the 2nd of April. I'd like to see the whole interview. But anyway. No stone left unturned. So I am continuing to follow the information that law enforcement puts out, the little bits and pieces that Nick Beres is able to share, because he talks to Eric Craddock regularly. Seems to have some, good relationship with Eric Craddock. So unless I hear otherwise, I am going to follow the information that's been put out by law enforcement in the early days of the case and since. And there's been no major changes to anything they've said. Nothing. So I'm going to continue to say Chris, Katie, and Seth are all innocent of any direct involvement in relation to the disappearance of Sebastian Wainwright Rogers. So I'm going to go now, but before I do, I'm going to share his Amber Alert, if I can find it, because I've got so many windows open. Hold on a minute. Boom. All right. I've got new features on StreamYard now because I paid for a month. So it's confusing me a bit. All right. Okay. So this is Sebastian Wainwright Rogers, 15 years old, white male, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'5", just under 120 pounds. Last seen in the late night hours of February 25th and was reported missing. The call came in at 6:33 a.m. on the morning of the 26th of February. And he was last seen at his home in Stafford Court, Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee, wearing black sweatpants with a white Adidas style stripe, a black sweatshirt with some kind of motif on it, and he always wears his glasses. If you've got any information from that's credible, not from TikTok or Twitter or YouTube or a psychic or your tea leaves, call Sumner County Emergency Communications Centre at 615-451-3838 or the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. All right, guys. I'm going to go. So thank you all for joining me. Karen Reid trial starts in 3/4 of an hour. They only did half a day yesterday. It was just getting good as well. Jen McCabe is a lying little B. She's lying so much. Come on now. Come on now. So our cross-examination continues. Shaker Maker, thanks for the $1.99. You're very kind. You're very kind. All right, so I'm going to go and get something to eat now. I've not had anything to eat today. Jenny's awful. She absolutely is. All right, so yeah, she's awful. She's awful. All right, guys, I'm going. Thanks as always for the donations. Welcome to the new members. Thanks to the mods. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.